It's Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today I'm going to create a quick little project using some lace and some pre-dyed red leather piece of scrap that I had left over from another project. And I want to show you something I'm going to do with that. Instead of just throwing it in the trash, I can use it to create something. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so what I'm going to create out of this is I'm going to make a couple of luggage tags. My wife and I do a little bit of traveling, and we normally just use the paper luggage tags at the airport or whatever, but I want something that's going to stand out, so obviously the red will, and then I'm going to personalize each one of these, so it will be, instead of just on paper, it'll have our initials on there. It'll be easy to spot, easy to track, and I'm going to marry that up with some white lace. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. First thing I want to do is get my ruler and let's see what size we're going to make these. This is a piece of leather that I had left. It's got some scarring and stuff on it. I got this colored leather from Kentucky Leather and Hides. Go check them out at www.kentuckyleatherandhides.com. Good people. They've got anything you need for your leatherworking, so check them out. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square this up. I'm going to cut me two pieces out of this so that I can get around the indentions and scarring on this scrap piece that I have left. And then I want to use my grid here to straighten this up. So I'm going to go 2 inches wide. So I'll use my straight edge at 2 inches, and I'm using the 2-inch measurement off of my grid on my self-healing mat, so I get a good square piece. This is the piece that has the scarring and stuff on it. I'm just going to set that aside. Not going to use that. This long piece here, I want to look and see how much I could get out of that. It's probably about, I can get by with 7 inches. So that would make it each tag 3.5 inches long by 2 inches wide. That would work for me for what I need to put on it. So let's go ahead and line this up on my grid. Again, I'll take my straight edge, square this end up with my knife. No, hope my arm isn't in the way. Then I'm going to turn it around because I prefer to cut with my left hand. And I'm going to do 7 inches around this way, and I'll cut that so that I get a nice straight square end on it. So there's my 2 by 7 inch piece. Now I can go ahead, set that up on my grid, and go 3.5 inches. Go 3.5. I love these self-healing cutting mats that have the grid already on them. It makes it so much easier to get your pieces square. So there's my 2 pieces, 2.5 or 2 by 3.5 inches that I need for my tags. Now, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take my poly cutting board and I'm going to go ahead and put me a hole in there that I can put my lace through, and I'll check my punches to see which one is going to work the best. That one would work perfectly. So let me get my mallet. I'm going to go about 1/4 inch down from the edge and center that at 1 inch side to side. I'll go ahead and punch my hole. There's my 2 holes, 1 for each side. Now what I want to do is I don't want them just plain, so I'm going to do a little bit of stamp work. Take my veining tool right here, and I'm going to go around the outside of this. I'll start in this corner, and the best way I could do it like that, but the best way to get, I feel, the best results is to case it with some water. And I'm going to move this back over here out of my way. And I'm just going to case the top surface and get it damp so I get a nice image impressed when I use my stamp. So I'm not getting that leather soaked, just wetting it down a little bit. You notice I didn't spend a lot of time on the edge or anything, just leaving it square, because it will take some abuse being thrown around on an airplane or a ship, whatever it is that you're on. So I'll let that sit for just a second, then I can go ahead and do my stamping. I'm going to go ahead and get, while that dries, I'm going to get my granite so I have a good solid surface to stamp on. And again, these are just sink cutouts. If you go to your local granite countertop store, they just throw these away, and just go in and tell them what you're doing. You're doing some hobby leather work, and ask them if you can. I asked if I could purchase one of these out of their dumpster, and they said go back and take as many as I wanted. Didn't charge me a dime. So ask, they'll probably be happy to give you one. So I'll go ahead and start in this corner up here, and I'm going to start right around that corner. I don't want my stamp to move, so I want to make sure I have good firm pressure on it. That's going to be my starting point as I go down the side and around. So I'm going to turn my, to make this look right so I don't have weird overlap, I'm going to turn my veining tool around, go right to the edge of where my corner is, and go the opposite way here. And then I'll just follow that down. And then when I get to the other end, I hope that my veining tool matches at the next corner, which it does. If it didn't, I could fudge this a little bit one way or the other on a couple of those, make it match a lot better. Now I can turn it. Here's a perfect example. This isn't wide enough for 2 of these full stamps, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it back until I'm in the center of this hole, give it a stamp, match those up with the other corner. You can take a look at how that turned out. And then I'll continue on down the second side. And then around the back side. I'll do it the same way I did the other end. So that's what my initial stamping looks like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with my seeding stamp, my seed stamp, and I'm going to put a seed stamp in between each one of those, where those veins touch. And again, I'm just doing this to give it a little bit of character. You could leave it plain if you'd like, whatever you want to do. Again, it makes it so much nicer if you case this, get that leather a little moist. The stamping will go so much easier. You'll get a good crisp stamp. Alright, there you can take a look, and there's my seeding, or my seeds from my seeding tool in between each vein. So now I'll take my alphabet and I'm going to put 3 initials on each one. I'm going to put the middle one, I'm going to start it first so that I can get it right in the center. And these stamps do have a center mark on them on the bottom, so I can make sure that's right on the money. Take my stamping tool, and there's my first initial. I can take that one off. I can either do the second one, the first letter, or the third letter, either one. It doesn't matter at this point. Again, I've got a mark at the bottom that shows me the center of my letter, so I can line it up with the one I have in there. And then take my third initial, Sounds like I've got some wild geese outside going crazy. So there's my 3 initials that I'm going to use. And then I'll come back with, I'm just going to use a little stylus to point it in, and that's going to be my periods. And I'm just barely tapping on that. And there's my periods at the end of each one. So that tag, the way I wanted to make it, again, out of a piece of scrap that was probably just going to get thrown away anyway. Now let's take a piece of this lace, and what I want to do is I want to leave enough to where I can attach it to the suitcase, and I can trim that off after I tie it, or to make it easier, I can trim it off the excess before I tie it. Then I can go ahead and start pulling that knot through. I like to use a pair of curved needle nose. To pull that lace nice and tight. And I just keep working that down to make sure I got a good knot, and that's not going to come out. So if you want to at that point, you can trim a little more of that off. I like to trim mine at an angled point or a chisel. See if I can get you a better look at it like that. Then what you can do is when you get ready to put it on your handle, let's say this was the handle of my suitcase, you could just wrap this around the handle, slide the tag through the lace, and then pull your tag tight on your handle. So there's your new luggage tag, and it's not going to come off. Definitely not going to come off. It's going to be nice and strong. Definitely be able to see that when you were going to get your luggage. The red tag will stand out. Nobody else will have one like it. If something happens, you need identification to find your luggage, you've got the initials on there. And again, very unique, but yet easy to make, easy to use. The only thing else I might do to this is put a little sheen on it just to protect it and give it a little bit of shine. But other than that, it looks really nice, and it's definitely going to be functional. So I'll go ahead and make another one off camera and finish this project up. Alright, so there's another project completed. Good use of scrap that would have been tossed aside anyway. So definitely going to use this on our next trip. So I appreciate you coming along, appreciate you watching, and please, like I always say, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.